Let me tell you something that most people won't say out loud. Your relationship isn't falling apart because you stopped loving each other. It's falling apart because you stopped speaking to each other, not with words, with touch. And right now, today, you are probably making 7 specific mistakes that are silently pushing your partner further away without either of you even realizing it. I know that sounds dramatic, but stay with me for just a moment because what I'm about to share with you comes from over 20 years of sitting across from real couples who came to me exhausted, confused, disconnected, and watching them find their way back to each other through something so simple it almost seems too easy to be true. My name is Dr. Claire Dawson. I'm a relationship psychologist based in Canada, and for more than 2 decades, I've worked with thousands of couples, young couples just starting out, couples in their 50s and 60s who have been together for decades and somehow feel like strangers sleeping in the same bed. Couples who love each other deeply, but have completely lost the thread of how to reach each other. And in all of that time, across all of those conversations, one pattern shows up again and again. Men who genuinely want to do better. Men who care deeply about their partners. Men who are trying, but who nobody ever actually taught. Nobody sat them down and explained how a woman's emotional world works. Nobody showed them the specific places, not just on her body, but in her nervous system, in her emotional landscape, where real connection actually lives. That's what we're doing today. I'm going to walk you through 7 specific places. 7 spots that, when approached with the right kind of awareness and intention, unlock something in a woman that most men spend their entire relationship searching for. And I'm going to tell you right now, none of these 7 places are what you're thinking. Not even close. But by the time we're done here, I promise you, you're going to understand your partner in a way you never have before. But first, I need you to understand one foundational truth. Because without this, nothing else I say today will actually land. The female brain does not separate physical touch from emotional meaning. Full stop. For a woman, especially a woman in her 40s, 50s, or 60s, touch is never just touch. It never has been. Every single time you reach out and make physical contact with her, her nervous system is asking a question. It's asking, is this safe? Does he actually see me? Does he care, or is he going somewhere with this? If her nervous system answers yes, if it feels safe, if it feels seen, if it feels genuinely caring, her whole body relaxes. She opens up, she moves toward you. She becomes available in ways that have nothing to do with the physical and everything to do with the emotional. But if the answer is no, or even just I'm not sure, she pulls back. Not because she doesn't love you, not because she's being difficult or cold or punishing you, but because her body is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's protecting her emotional self first. That's not a character flaw. That's biology. And once you truly understand that, everything changes. I had a client, I'll call her Patricia, 58 years old, married for 31 years, to a man who, by any measure, was a good man. He worked hard. He was faithful. He showed up. But Patricia sat in my office one afternoon and said something I have never forgotten. She said, Claire, I don't need him to be perfect. I just need him to slow down long enough to actually feel me. Not just touch me. Feel me. That sentence. Right there. That's the entire lesson in 8 words. Not touch me. Feel me. There is a difference, and your partner feels that difference every single time. So let's get into it. 7 places. 7 opportunities to completely change the dynamic of your relationship. And I want you to listen closely because some of these are going to surprise you. The first place is the back of the neck. Right at the base of the hairline, where the skin meets the hair. Now, I know that doesn't sound like much, but this spot is one of the most emotionally significant areas on a woman's body, and most men walk right past it every single day without giving it a second thought. Here's why this spot matters so much. This is where tension lives. This is where stress settles after a long day of carrying the weight of everything. Work, family, worry, the mental load that never fully switches off. When a woman is stressed, when she's disconnected, when she's been running on empty all day, that tension pulls right here, right at the base of her neck. Now, what I want you to do is not a massage. I don't want you to go in with firm hands and the energy of someone trying to fix her. This isn't about fixing. This is about presence. 2 or 3 fingertips. Slow, light, no pressure, just warmth and stillness. When you do this, and I mean really do it with intention, without rushing, something chemical begins to happen. Her nervous system starts to downshift. Her breathing slows. The cortisol, which is the stress hormone that's been running through her all day, starts to ease. And in its place, oxytocin begins to rise. You've probably heard oxytocin called the bonding hormone or the trust hormone. That's exactly what it is. And this spot right behind the neck is one of the fastest ways to trigger it without saying a single word. She might not say anything. She might just go quiet. She might lean into your hand slightly. Don't mistake that silence for indifference. That silence is her body saying yes. That stillness is her nervous system doing exactly what you hoped it would do. Trust that. The second place is the space between her shoulder blades. That soft area in the middle of her back between her spine and her shoulder tips. I call this her shield because that's exactly what it is. It's the part of her back she can't reach herself. It's the part that carries invisible weight. The weight of holding herself together, of being strong, of managing everything while looking like she's managing everything. When a woman has built walls, consciously or not, this is often where those walls live in her body. This is where the guardedness settles. And what I want you to do is incredibly simple. Place your hand there, flat, warm, still, no pressure, no agenda, no destination. Just your hand, resting between her shoulder blades, communicating something that words almost never manage to say with the same power. I've got you. I'm here. You don't have to carry this alone. I worked with a couple in Toronto, both in their early 60s, both recently retired, spending every day in the same house and somehow feeling like they were living parallel lives. The husband, Robert, started doing just this one thing. Every evening, when his wife was standing in the kitchen after dinner, he'd walk up behind her and rest his hand between her shoulder blades. No words, no setup, just presence. 3 weeks later, she sat in my office and said, I don't know what he's doing differently, but I feel like he's actually here again. That was it. That was the whole change. One hand, one gesture, every evening. That's the power of this spot. The third place is the hands, specifically the fingers and the palm. And before you say it, yes, I know. Holding hands. Groundbreaking? But hear me out, because there's a world of difference between grabbing someone's hand and actually holding it. There's a difference between a quick squeeze and deliberately, slowly tracing your thumb across her palm. A woman's hands are deeply connected to her emotional world. Her hands are how she gives, how she nurtures, how she creates and expresses care for the people around her. When you hold them with genuine attention, not absently, not out of habit, but with full presence, she feels understood in a way that goes straight to her core. Try this the next time you're sitting together. It doesn't matter if you're watching television, having coffee, sitting in the car. Take her hand, but instead of just holding it, use your thumb to slowly trace along her fingers one by one, or draw slow, small circles across her palm. No rush, no destination. Like this is the only thing you have to do right now. Research from McGill University has found that this type of slow, deliberate touch on the hands activates the same neural pathways as spoken emotional affirmation. In plain language, what that means is that holding her hand thoughtfully communicates the same thing as telling her she matters. You don't have to find the perfect words. Your hands say it for you. And honestly, sometimes hands say it better. The fourth place is the small hollow just below the jawline, directly behind the ear. This one surprises almost everyone I mention it to. It's subtle. It's easy to miss. And that's exactly what makes it so powerful. This area is packed with nerve endings. It's extraordinarily sensitive. But more than the physical sensitivity, this is a spot that only ever gets touched in moments of real closeness. To touch here, you have to be near her, present, focused entirely on her. It's an intimate spot, not because of where it is, but because of what it requires of you. When you're sitting close together and you gently brush your fingertips along this spot, not with pressure, just warmth, just awareness, you're doing two things simultaneously. You're triggering a physical response that sends a wave of calm through her body. And you're sending an emotional signal that says, I notice the small things about you. I'm paying attention, not to where this is going, to you right now exactly as you are. Women feel this one differently than almost any other kind of touch. It doesn't feel demanding. It doesn't feel like it's leading somewhere. It feels like being truly seen. And being truly seen, really, genuinely seen, is one of the deepest needs a woman carries in a long-term relationship, often without ever saying it, often without even fully knowing it herself. One important thing I tell every man I work with about this spot, if she doesn't lean into it immediately, don't push. Don't repeat it. Don't make it a thing. This spot requires trust. And if that trust is still being rebuilt, if there's been distance, if there's been hurt, just be patient. Be consistent in the other ways. Over time, as your presence becomes something she can count on, she will. The fifth place is the inner thigh, near the knee. And I want to be very clear about the placement here, because it matters enormously. We're talking about the soft skin on the inside of the leg, close to the knee, not higher, not rushing anywhere. Just there at the knee, in that quiet, unhurried spot. This area carries significant emotional weight for women, often without them being consciously aware of why. A touch here, respectful, unhurried, with a slow and steady rhythm, communicates something very specific. Closeness without pressure, desire without demand. And in a long-term relationship, especially as we get older, that combination is rarer than you might think. The key is the rhythm. Slow and even, like you have nowhere to be and nothing to prove. Like this moment is entirely complete in itself. Like being here with her right now is already everything. I've had women tell me that this kind of touch, when done with patience, when done with genuine respect, felt more intimate than anything else their partner had done in years. Not because of where it was, but because of what it said. I want to be close to you. I'm not rushing you. I'm not trying to get anywhere. I'm just here. In a long relationship, that message can feel like water after a drought. The sixth place is the lower back, that hollow between the waist and the hips, the soft curve right there at the very center of her body. The lower back supports everything. It carries everything. It is, quite literally, the foundation of the body. And in most long-term relationships, it goes almost completely untouched. When you place your hand on a woman's lower back, especially when you're standing close behind her, when your chest meets her back, when she can feel your warmth and your steadiness, something remarkable happens in her brain. Neurologically, the body interprets that position as protection, as stability, as someone silently saying, "I'm behind you," literally and figuratively. This isn't about control. It's not about possession. It's about containment in the best possible sense, the kind that makes someone feel safe enough to finally let their guard down, safe enough to exhale, safe enough to stop holding themselves together quite so tightly because someone else is there. I want you to think right now about the last time you stood close behind your partner and simply rested your hand on her lower back, not going anywhere, not building to anything, just there. If you can't remember, that's worth sitting with for a moment. Try it this week. Not as a technique you read about, as a genuine expression of who you are and how you feel. Stand close to her. Place your hand there. Breathe. Let her feel that you're not in a hurry. Let her feel that being near her, just standing close, is enough for you right now. The seventh place is the one that surprises people the most. It's not the chest. It's not anywhere you might expect. It's the lower abdomen, the area around and just below the navel. This is the most emotionally significant area on a woman's body, and it is consistently the most overlooked. Men either move past it entirely or only touch it in a way that signals they're headed somewhere else. Both of those are enormous missed opportunities, because this spot, approached the right way, communicates something that almost nothing else can. There's real neuroscience here. The lower abdomen has a dense concentration of vagal nerve connections, meaning it's directly wired into the body's emotional regulation system. When this area is touched with genuine care and genuine slowness, it doesn't just feel physical. It feels like being held at the very core of who she is. Not her body. Her. The whole of her. I describe it this way to the couples I work with. Imagine you're holding something irreplaceable, something fragile and precious. You wouldn't grab it. You wouldn't rush. You'd move slowly, with both hands, with your complete and undivided attention. That's the energy this spot deserves. A warm hand placed gently, with zero urgency, zero agenda. It signals something that spoken words rarely manage to accomplish with the same depth. I trust you with all of me, and I hope you trust me with all of you. When a woman feels that, really feels it in her body, not just hears it, her whole being responds. Not because of technique, because of truth. So let me bring all of this together now. 7 places: the back of the neck, the space between the shoulder blades, the hands, the hollow behind the ear, the inner thigh near the knee, the lower back, and the lower abdomen. None of these are complicated. None of them require anything other than your presence and your intention. But I can tell you with certainty, from 20 years of working with real couples in real relationships, most of you are not using them. Not with the slowness they deserve. Not with the awareness that makes them mean something. And here's why that matters in a way that goes far beyond the physical. As we get older, as relationships stretch into years and decades, something strange and quiet tends to happen. We stop reaching out. Not because we've stopped caring, but because the routine takes over, because we assume our partner already knows, because we're tired or distracted, or we've simply forgotten that the smallest gestures are actually the biggest ones. But she feels that absence. She feels it in her body before she ever feels it in her mind. She wakes up one day and realizes she feels lonely, not because you're not there, but because you stopped touching her. stopped noticing her, stopped speaking to her in the language of physical presence that her nervous system has always understood better than words. I think about a man I worked with. I'll call him David, 67 years old, retired, based out of Edmonton. His wife had been growing more and more distant over 2 years, and he came to see me convinced the relationship had simply run out of steam. Maybe this is just what happens after 35 years, he said. I asked him one question. When's the last time you touched her without wanting anything in return? He sat with that for a long time, a long time. I can't remember, he finally said. That was the whole answer. Right there. We talked about these 7 places. He went home. He started small, just a hand on the back of her neck one evening while she was sitting and reading. No words, no expectation, nothing else. She looked up at him. And for the first time in a long time, she smiled at him the way she used to. 2 months later, he came back and said, she told me last week that she feels like I've come back to her. And honestly, I think I have. That is not magic. That is not a trick or a technique or some kind of manipulation. That is simply the power of consistent, intentional, respectful physical presence. That is what happens when a man decides to show up. Not with grand gestures, not with speeches, but with his hands, his warmth, his time. The research backs all of this up, and I've seen it play out in my own practice more times than I can count. Women have, on average, significantly more sensitive skin nerve receptors than men, particularly in the areas we've talked about today. The neck, behind the ear, the fingers, the lower abdomen. These zones aren't just physically responsive. They are emotionally wired. Touch in these areas triggers oxytocin, yes, but more than that, they trigger a felt sense of safety. And safety is the absolute foundation of intimacy. You cannot have one without the other. It's not possible. A study from the University of British Columbia looked at touch patterns in long-term couples and found something striking. Couples who maintained regular non-sexual physical contact, the kind that wasn't leading anywhere, just warm and present and caring, reported significantly higher levels of emotional connection and relationship satisfaction, even when other areas of their relationship had real challenges. The couples who had stopped that kind of contact consistently described themselves as feeling like roommates. People living parallel lives under the same roof. Don't be roommates with the person you love. So here's where I want to leave you today. Not with a long list of things to memorize, not with homework that feels like homework, just with this. Tonight, if your partner is nearby, if she's in the same room or the same house, walk up to her. Place your hand on the back of her neck. Don't say anything. Don't explain yourself. Don't expect anything in return. Just let your hand be warm and still and see what happens. Tomorrow, try the lower back. Or take her hand and hold it slowly, deliberately, like you actually mean it, like she's the only thing in your hands worth holding. These aren't techniques. They are expressions of care. And the difference between a technique and a genuine expression of care is everything, because she will feel the difference. Women always do. They always have. The warmth in your hands when it carries no agenda, when it asks for nothing, when it simply says, I'm here and you are the reason, that kind of touch has the power to bring someone back to you, to bring you back to each other. It is never too late. I have watched couples in their 70s completely transform their relationship with these simple, quiet shifts. I have watched women who had emotionally checked out, who had stopped hoping, begin to lean back in. I have watched men who were certain it was too late to discover that they weren't even close. You're here right now. You're listening, and that already tells me something important about you. It tells me you want to do better. You want to understand. You want your relationship to feel alive again. Not just functional, not just comfortable, but alive. It can, it will. If you're willing to slow down, to show up, and to let your hands say the things your words sometimes can't find, take care of each other. I mean that with everything I have.